When looking at a new vehicle, you always want to know about the bells and whistles, but this week's test drive took that to another level. Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now behind me is the 2021 Subaru Legacy, and while bells and whistles certainly refer to fit and trim, in this case, it was in the literal sense. Now, before I get into the audible sensory overload on this vehicle, let's talk about the exterior. Many onlookers confusing it with the likes of the competition, asking if that's the new Nissan, the new Toyota, eventually landing on Subaru after a couple hints from me. That basically means this vehicle does blend in quite nicely in the sedan segment. No real head turner or wow factor to mention, but it is a nice solid option in this market. By the numbers, this vehicle fits squarely into the mid-size sedan market. Not too big, not too small, around about 190 inches, wheelbase at 108. As for width, around about 6 feet wide and 5 feet tall with modest ground clearance. But where this vehicle truly shines compared to the competition really is in its Subaru off-road worthiness, having that all-wheel drive, the grip at the four corners, something a lot of sedans have yet to get to, especially the ones I've mentioned earlier. The Subaru definitely delivering on our week-long trip. Certainly finding the right model is key, and it's all about the bells and whistles, not the audible ones I'll reference here in just a second, but the fit and trim. Now, this vehicle comes in 6 options: the base, the premium, the sport, the limited XT as you see it, and the touring XT. Base comes in around about $22,000. This model around about $35,000. Swinging around to the business end before we get there, it's all about Ingress and the easeability. First off, smart key system to be expected. Modest operation here with lock, unlock, and trunk release. No remote start to be found on the key fob. As for Ingress, the Achilles heel as of late, basically manufacturers across the board falling short, not giving you that access point at every door, but instead just the front. It is intuitive though, just simply slide your hand right in, unlocks with ease. But as always, if you can do that right here, why not do it all the way around? As you walk away, just simply lightly touch here, locks it up. So this one is nice and intuitive and not bulky with buttons and so on. Sweep around to the business end again. As the design comes back here, nothing truly standing out, but it does come down to what I like in here, specifically a lot of cargo space, around about 15 cubic feet. That compared to a lot of the competition that is falling way short, 12, 13, 14. Anytime you get into those low numbers, it's just going to be a compromising affair, either for the weekend getaway or even hitting the 18 holes. Now, for access, you're going to have nice electronic release right here, and once it opens, this is where you're going to see that huge amount of space. First off, noting the extra niches on the side. That's really going to come in handy with those extra items, specifically the golf clubs, because oftentimes when those aren't there, the clubs just won't swing in. It's sometimes a diagonal affair, and even worst case, having to lay the second row flat. Here on this Legacy, I'm finding plenty of acreage really to handle the foursome with ease. Also, what you're going to notice is a very cavernous trunk. Really getting in there means kind of a jumping in affair, because really the furthest point is further back than I've seen in quite a long time. Under the hood, you're going to have 2 options, both being 4-cylinder boxer engines, either on the base models a 2.5 liter or for the XTs a 2.4 liter turbocharged. Now, for the base, that's going to be 182 horses, 176 foot-pounds of torque. For the more spirited ride, that's going to be 260 horses and 277 foot-pounds of torque. Moving to guerrilla warfare, matches the profile, somewhat of a plain Jane, but this is where we move away from the kind of fit and trim talk and more to the safety and bells and whistles. And it starts with the headlights, with the automatic high and low beam controls, as well as now standard dynamic headlights, basically matching the steering wheel, giving that cast ahead so you can basically enhance your vision and your safety. Where the size of this vehicle really comes into play is in interior comfort, really fitting squarely in the mid-size segment, and where you notice it is in legroom numbers. Now up front, around about 42 inches of legroom, but backseat drivers, the loudest complainers, getting great legroom numbers as well, around about 39 inches. Now for styling back here, going to be somewhat of a standard bench with a little bit of sculpting on the outer side positions, but one thing you're going to find is your traditional hump there on the floor, basically meaning feet position. It's going to be a little bit tight there in the middle, but overall, this is going to handle 5 adults with ease. One of the biggest features when it comes to fit and trim is front and center on the dash, and one area where Subaru lagged a little bit behind the competition, but modestly they have definitely caught up. And where it begins is with this huge oversized touchscreen system front and center. Now what you're seeing is the shortcuts to various icons, real easy to navigate. Just swipe back and forth. Once you find what you're looking for, just simply click on it and goes full screen. Now we do have traditional knobs in the volume and tune select. Really like that because it does make ease of use when transitioning on radio specifically, but obviously shortcuts down below. What I also like is there is an auto stop, auto start feature for the engine. I don't necessarily like that, but I like the fact that the button is right here, real easy to note and turn off when needed. Subaru may have lagged behind the competition when it came to bringing this type of innovation to their vehicles, but they have stepped ahead of the competition when it comes to integrating everything under the screen, specifically combining climate controls in this area. A lot of the competition keeping these two components separate, meaning there's bulky controls down here. Not the case here on the Legacy. Now you will find traditional controls over here on the outer side, but everything else a digital display down below. Really easy to use. Now if you need to go full screen, just simply click right in the middle. That will bring it up, allows you to select the different mode selects as well as fan speed down below. Real easy to navigate all right here. Once you're done using it, give it a couple seconds and it will go away. Moving away from the fit and trim over to the safety, the bells and whistles I alluded to at the beginning of the show. This is where it all starts. Now what I like is to control the various safety components is all found on the touchscreen system versus a lot of competition that is throwing the mechanisms there between the gauge cluster. Real hard to navigate. If you've ever used the controls on the steering wheel, you'll know that that is just difficult to interact with. This so much easier, and this is really what you want to home into, because with all the safety components, there are tons of audible alerts that go with it. It only took about all week for me to realize of the ones I could kind of pick and choose that I prefer. Now obviously Subaru is known for their EyeSight driver assist technology. It includes new advanced things as adaptive cruise control, lane centering, pre-collision braking, throttle management, and vehicle lane departure and sway warning. Now what you want to really work with is right through here. First off, you can kind of turn things on and off, and what we noticed is with the EyeSight, what that does is when you have the adaptive cruise control, you set everything right here really nice and easy, but what you get on the windshield is going to be these illuminations, basically green lights, red lights, and so on. And that's really going to come into play as the cruise is set, and as vehicles move in front of you, you're going to get an audible noise every time a vehicle gets in front, and then maybe when the vehicle moves away, when it comes back, so on. You're going to get a beep noise. What I finally realized is you can kind of adjust all these particular tones right through here. First off, the Eye Assist monitor, that's going to be those red indicator, yellow indicator, green indicator lights. You can kind of turn them on and off as needed, and you can go through various EyeSight. Again, tons of options. Now with the use of these and the lack of use, that means you're going to kind of prevent safety options, or you're going to have them available. But with that comes, again, the bells and whistles. Tons of audible noises that go with all the safety components. The only thing I think of when it comes to Subaru is maybe we need to taper down the audible side of things and look for another visual component that would be, well, less alarming. Another exclusive feature is the driver focus distraction mitigation system. It can identify signs of driver fatigue and distraction. And again, you have the options over here with various driver monitoring. But what it basically does is, let's say you look away just for a second. Maybe you think it's only for a second. It's actually several seconds. Well, there's going to be a little alert that comes up over here on the gauge cluster. Again, audible and a visual readout that says, please keep your eyes on the road. What I noticed is it tended to do it quite often. Oftentimes I just wanted to look around at the scenery. Well, that's just not an option here when that monitoring system is on, because it doesn't want you looking away at all. It wants you 10 and 2 on the steering wheel and eyes straight ahead. Now, another big audible feature is when you're going down the road and you do not have your seatbelt on, you're going to get well, a beeping noise. Now right now I'm only in the driveway, so I just wanted to kind of see if it would go off, and it will, and eventually it does get quite loud. So pulling out into the neighborhood street, let's just see how loud it will go, and it will relate to kind of how fast you're going. As you speed up, the noise gets louder and keeps reminding you and reminding you and reminding you and reminding you that you need to put your seatbelt on. For connectivity, we'll find 2 USB chargers, auxiliary jack, as well as a nice storage area for your device. If you want traditional car, the outlet that will be found in the center console, 2 additional USB connections found there for backseat drivers. As you can tell, it's not just about the fit and trim, but also about safety, the bells and whistles. And as vehicles become smarter, they're helping to make us safer. And you can tell here in the Legacy, that is what Subaru aims to deliver. Now what it takes is a little bit of getting used to and evolving into the newest components, but certainly we can all get there and be a lot safer for it. Now, as always, thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.